here in the northeast corner of Oregon with Colleen Blackwood, who I know as a teacher at the Quilters Affair. And you probably know her from Facebook, or you do Instagram?
I do Instagram.
And do a lot of teaching all over the state and further?
I've gone out of state some, but primarily I'm in this corner of the state a lot.
A lot.
The stores and the guilds pick me up. Whenever I have a new idea, they grab onto it and they guinea pig for future classes.
Well, I have to tell you, I stopped at the shop in Joseph.
Oh, good.
And it was being manned by a new employee.
Oh.
She is a English teacher who, because of her husband's work, relocated to Joseph and is a beginning quilter.
Oh, good.
And so, unfortunately, her boss, the quilt shop owner, was gone. And so when I walked in, she was somewhat, like didn't have a lot of answers. But was absolutely adorable. So I said, well, I'm sure that Colleen Blackwood teaches here. And she goes, I don't know, I'm just beginning. And so then we opened the newsletter, and I said, okay, you need to take this class from her. You need a beginning quilting class. She goes, well, I'm just starting these sampler blocks. I said, yeah, but once you get that done, then you have to wait months till the next beginning quilting class comes. So. And there your name was, all over that brochure. So you're teaching a lot.
I am. And I do a lot of machine quilting, so I only have to come up with a couple new pattern ideas every year. I used to try to do more, but it's hard to come up with more than 2 ideas that are bona fide, that people will like.
Well, I can't imagine that because your quilts are all gorgeous. But when you plan your classes in Sisters at the Quilters Affair, you're looking at what someone can accomplish, feel good about in a certain period of time.
Hopefully I can get them comfortable with the techniques that I bring to it so that if they have to finish at home, they're able to. Yeah. And I don't like to be instructing too much difficult technique, but simple techniques can give you wonderful results. I don't have to have all the extra stuff. I can make it magic with pretty simple things.
And your classes are always filled and people love them.
Well, I have repeat offenders. That's my that's my biggest compliment is when I get somebody back. Oh, good. I didn't offend them.
Well, tell me about your history with Sisters. How did you start?
I learned to quilt 40 years ago when we lived in northern Washington and our children were infants, and I wanted to make baby quilts. And then we moved to Sisters. And someone said, oh, you must meet Jean Wells. And I went, oh, who's she? And they said, well, she owns this little store. And it was a little store. And she talked about having had a couple quilt shows. And back then it was easy to go in and say, oh, I want some green or some pink or whatever. And there were a few bolts of each. And then it grew and it grew and it grew. And of course my kids were close in age to Valerie and Jason. And we didn't share a lot of friendship time, but the inspiration time, that's when it started. As Jean would say, well, you can do that. You can do that. And I'd go, but I don't know how. And she said, well, you'll learn. And I thought, okay, I'll learn. And it never stopped. I've missed, since we moved away in '85, I've missed 2 quilt shows since then.
Wow.
Because it becomes necessary to be there.
Well, I totally get that because I tell Greg that I'm willing to travel. We do the quilt roadies, and I'm willing to travel wherever he wants to go except for 1 week in July. I have to be there for that,
Yeah, and until you've
it's
gone
like the heart of the town, don't you think?
It's the heart of our community.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you see a quilter once a year or once every 3 years. We are a community. And when you do see one another, you pick up where you last were and you get refreshed on your personal interests, your new ideas. But it's that support, and I call it love, of what we do and of what we create and respect for one another's efforts. It's just the biggest positive boost to your inner being possible, I believe. I've never had a bad experience at Sisters.
And I think quilting is just at the heart of all that. I think for the most part quilters are all have good souls.
I agree.
They just, no matter what their political or religious beliefs are, that core of quilting somehow binds us.
I think so.
And I love that. And I love that you always have that great poem and song going.
I try never to sing in public.
Oh, but it just fills the heart,
Thank you.
and I can tell that Jean and Val just look forward to that moment.
I'll have those moments where I need to put my words down. I'm completely removed from the quilting room. Mm-hmm. I'll be out doing something in the garden or with my horses, and I'll start to think about that feeds me. Mm-hmm. And what is it? And if in relationship to quilting, I often have to put those words down. Mm-hmm. Because I need to share that part too. We need to hear it sometimes, not just see it as an accomplishment of cloth. It's an accomplishment of our soul. Mm-hmm. And we need to share that.
Yeah, and I think quilting really lends itself to that, and then the spoken word too. I just love all of it. I think that's why I'm always doing it.
Yes.
So you, when you're designing a project to teach, mm-hmm. You kind of go outside your own box too.
I do. That's maybe a little bit of a difficulty at times to balance what I want to do for myself with what turns out to be a class project. So in addition to trying to come up with 2 designs that I can, if people want to, they can take a class, I try to do 1 or 2 pieces a year that are strictly from a creative point of view. And then sometimes they cross and I'll end up with a piece that's creative and instructional. Mm-hmm. And they're laying on the back of chairs, I guess.
Right, and the quilt over there will show you later that heart. I just loved that.
Thank you.
I loved that. It's outside the box for me. That would be such a challenge. And but I think if I took a class from you, I could actually accomplish something like that.
Well, I would give full credit for that. Heart design came originally in a class from Doreen Speckman, who was a woman who inspired all of us when we got a chance to meet her and know her. And I wanted to continue providing that which has gone before us still can come through in a more modern design. And that hasn't been the biggest received quilt or design I've come up with because it is a little outside the box.
Right.
And this one behind us is out of focus. It too is just a little bit out of the box because mm-hmm. it's not symmetrical.
Right.
But it's to me been one of I've had a couple classes where I can walk away knowing those people all picked up on something I hadn't perceived. And oftentimes it's just moving a color around gives them a chance to go, I did that myself. I was creative.
It's mine.
Yes, yeah. And if it's a prescribed set of fabrics and a prescribed design, they do exactly what they're told.
Yeah.
Well, I can't teach that because I'm going to poke them and say, why don't you just try something a little, because it's that when you see the light come on and they go, I did that. Mm-hmm. They've given back to me far more than I've given them. But then they'll do it again. If they just continually make the same thing, they'll quit.
So I want you to capture that young woman in the shop in Joseph. She's on the cusp of becoming a quilter.
They have a long winter up there. She's already hooked.
Oh, good.
And that's a lovely store.
Oh,
They've got
a lot of variety in there. So how many children do you have?
We have a son who's 41 and a daughter who's not quite 40 yet.
You like her best because she's under 40.
Yeah, she's never going to be 40. I'm not going to let her. Our son lives in Portland and Jenny lives in Seattle.
And so do either of them, are they involved in any quilting? Do they appreciate all of that? Or
they love my quilts. Mm-hmm. Their response is, Mom, why would we learn to make quilts? We're going to get yours. So I give them quilts readily.
Oh, good.
So,
Good. Grandchildren?
No grand dog. I've got a grand dog that's
those
quite
are
wonderful.
Precious. Yeah, those. I have 2 grand cats. Yeah.
He gets to come visit for about a month when our daughter takes trips. And so he gets to come and he takes over my Facebook page and he posts things about coming to the farm. He gets more responses than I do.
I know. I said Enzo's more popular than I am.
Yes.
He is more popular. I put a post, he gets more likes than I do on Instagram. I have 2 grandsons in Portland, but 2 grandcats now living in Sisters, so that's great. And I got a daughter-in-law who's just gotten hooked on quilting.
Oh, so good. Good for you.
Yeah, I know. That was a good play on my part. So what's in the future for you?
I have a few projects I'm working on that I left laying around so you'd see them.
Right.
And I always have ideas. And I think the funny thing is I was trying to clean up and make it at least somewhat organized. And I realized I can't put all they're literally stacks of yards of fabric. Because that's my next idea, and that's the one after that.
Oh, so you kind of go to your pile and say, I want to do these fabrics in a quilt.
Yeah, and I have an idea of the design, and it's so blah, blah, blah. And so it's always a wretched mess in here as far as fabric supplies. And all my friends know that they can come and they can't touch the piles in the living room if they need to borrow fabric. They have to go down the hall to the fabric stash.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
No, you can't see my fabric
Oh,
stash.
come on.
It's a mess.
Come on. That's just
It's a mess.
Well, we will be having a slideshow on the Quilt Show in a couple of weeks. And so after you watch this video, you can then go to the Quilt Show with Alex Anderson and Ricky Timms, Anna and G on the road for the daily blog and see some specific photographs of quilts and hopefully the stash. Thank you so much.
Oh, and it's a pleasure to see you again and not be on as sisters.
I know.
Gosh,
so relaxed.
We get to have coffee.
Yeah, coffee and coffee cake. Yay!